Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Well, Sean Diddy Combs made his stance crystal clear in court on Thursday. When Judge Aaron Subramanian asked if he was rejecting the government's plea deal, Diddy didn't hesitate. "Yes, I do, Your Honor." Guess he's feeling confident, or maybe just reckless, as he sets the stage for a trial where the stakes couldn't be higher. With prison time looming, the witness list reads like a who's who of accusations, starting with Cassie Ventura. She's going to testify under her real name about a relationship that started back in 2007 and, according to her lawsuit, spiraled into violence. Just a little casual reminder of the 18 years of drama, because who wouldn't want to relive all that? But wait, there's more. 3 other accusers, referred to as Victim 2, 3, and 4, will testify anonymously because, it's not like public trials need any more spectacle. They're getting the full witness protection light treatment, which, of course, raises the suspense level. Oh, and there's a man who claims he was hired as an escort worker. Yes, that's the official term here, who's ready to spill the tea about the drugs at the parties. He says he saw one woman collapse after popping some pills while cameras were rolling. Sounds like a party no one should want an invite to. The prosecution argues this paints a picture of Combs orchestrating these wild events with his paid staff, with no regard for consent. And Combs' attorney, Jeffrey Lichtman, has the nerve to argue that everyone involved was a willing adult. Sure, Jeffrey, because that's always how these things go. Voluntary, consensual, drug-fueled parties with cameras, right? It's shaping up to be a courtroom showdown, where the only thing more dramatic than the allegations will be the defense's ability to argue that everything was just good, clean fun. The defense, always looking to throw a wrench in things, plans to go after the authenticity of the video evidence. They're pointing to frame jumps and timestamps they claim reveal edits, because, of course, nothing says guilt like technical hiccups. Plus, they're all about digging up those good old non-disclosure agreements that some accusers signed years ago. Lichtman argues that these NDAs prove the accusers were paid and are now cashing in on shifting public sentiment for even more money and attention. Because who wouldn't want to relive traumatic events just for the fame, right? It's hardly a shock that Combs rejected the plea deal. Those who followed his career know he's the master of controlling his narrative. Apparently, the government wanted him to admit to forcing people into unwanted acts, a statement Combs was clearly unwilling to make. Once those talks crumbled, prosecutors filed notice that they would be seeking enhanced penalties, citing one alleged victim who was 18 at the time of certain recordings. Now that's a fun new twist. Meanwhile, jury selection, aka voir dire, is about to get interesting. They're pulling about 200 citizens from the Southern District of New York, asking probing questions like how familiar they are with hip-hop, their personal experiences related to ST, because that's a casual conversation starter, and of course their ability to avoid news updates until the trial is over. After that, 12 jurors and some alternates will be chosen. But if those jurors can't keep their eyes off the latest news, the judge could decide to sequester them, though that comes with its own set of headaches and costs. Legal scholars are having a field day with the challenge of balancing juror privacy with transparency in this digital age, because clearly that's the hardest part of this whole trial. Forget the evidence. Let's worry about whether jurors can ignore Twitter. Once the jurors are sworn in, prosecutors are all set to kick off with a juicy timeline that stretches from 2003 recording studio parties all the way to 2023 civil suits that ignited this whole criminal mess. They'll introduce chains of text messages where, apparently, Combs boasted he could make anyone obey, classic move, and then flash video stills that agents claim line up with the dates in question. Prosecutors will parade witnesses who will talk about being promised career help or lavish trips, only to end up with drugs, threats, and the ever-present reminder that their every move was likely caught on camera. The goal here? To paint a nice little pattern, a key component of proving racketeering conspiracy. They want to make it seem like a well-oiled operation where coercion was the name of the game. On the flip side, Lichtman and the defense team are preparing to tear that pattern apart like a bad mixtape. They'll highlight any gaps they can find, trips with no wrongdoing, messages that seem more like affection than intimidation, and witnesses whose stories just don't line up. The defense has also brought in digital forensic specialists who are ready to claim that editing software was used to splice the footage, conveniently stripping out any context that could have changed the narrative. Lichtman might even bring in people who attended the parties and will swear they were just casual, consensual adult gatherings. Because who wouldn't want to vouch for a party they probably regret attending? Trial watchers are already predicting that if the defense can create enough doubt around the videos, the jury might just hesitate to convict on the big charges. Because, the idea of sowing doubt works every time in court. But beyond the courtroom, the public's response is getting louder. Streaming numbers for Bad Boy Records releases have taken a hit, down almost 12% between January and April, according to Chart Tracer. Brands that once couldn't wait to slap their logos on Combs' empire have started pulling back their ad campaigns. And hey, educators have gotten involved, turning this case into a civics lesson. Because nothing says teachable moment like a scandal involving drugs, power, and alleged coercion. Meanwhile, advocacy groups outside the courthouse are holding rallies, chanting for the rights of survivors, while loyal Combs fans are countering with their own chants, reinforcing that presumption of innocence. It's a live-action version of a legal tug-of-war, where the balance between justice for the accusers and the rights of the accused plays out in real time, on the streets and on social media. But of course, let's not forget the trauma experts who are basically trying to put a protective bubble around all of this, warning about the psychological toll of viral commentary. Enter therapy dogs and private staging areas. Nothing like a pup with a cape to soothe the nerves of witnesses before they hit the stand. Who knew courtroom drama could double as emotional support animal central? As for Combs, locked away in the Metropolitan Detention Center and studying the evidence, the question looms: does he risk testifying? It's almost like watching an actor contemplating their big scene. One misstep and the critics will have a field day. His team knows that a single wrong word could catapult the prosecution's narrative into overdrive. This isn't just legal strategy, it's high-stakes performance art. High-profile defendants like Combs typically avoid the stand unless they think they can personally flip the script. It's a nothing-to-lose, everything-to-gain moment, except, the risk of everything unraveling in the blink of a cross-examination. If the jury comes back with a guilty verdict for Combs, sentencing will follow in a separate hearing. Federal guidelines will require the judge to consider factors like the age of the victims, whether drugs were involved, and whether the recordings were distributed or held as leverage. In classic legal fashion, any appeals will likely zero in on the nitty-gritty of evidence rulings, particularly the admissibility of Ventura's hotel footage, because who cares about witness credibility when you can argue over timestamps and footage quality? At the heart of this trial is a much larger question. Will this case redefine how we view power dynamics in entertainment? Victim advocacy groups argue that decades of silence around these issues stem from the fact that careers have always depended on the gatekeepers, the powerful figures who control access. Meanwhile, defense supporters are painting this as a case that criminalizes a lifestyle that, though unpopular with mainstream audiences, was consensual and simply part of the entertainment industry's underbelly. So, no big deal, right? Just a small cultural reckoning. Nothing to see here. What do you think of this drama? Let us know in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe Celebrity Insider News and press the bell icon for more celebrity gossips. Thanks for watching.